Is it just me, or is everyone getting super philosophical lately? YouTube channels like Alex O'Connor go viral every week. Debates are back on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, and it seems like every 14-year-old wants to be a based stoic philosopher who doesn't care about the chores his mom is giving him. One of the most popular topics at the fore of this discussion is religion. Questions like these are so important, but with our current method of discussing them, it just leads to more polarization and hatred online, separation between brothers in humanity. That's why I just wanted to make this nice visual presentation to cut through the noise and ask yourselves the question, can reason lead to God? How would you even argue for God? I think we can establish a nice framework here. Every worldview has to explain the data for what we observe in an elegant way. And in the case for God, the arguments are a cumulative case. Although each are very good, not any one is supposed to bear the weight of the entire case. Just like multiple strings braided together make an extremely strong rope, these arguments will make an extremely strong case for God. Because we're very scientific today, I thought we should look into some scientific arguments for the existence of God, beginning with the beginning of the universe. Everything that begins to exist has a cause, and the universe began to exist, so the universe had a cause. Because the universe is the sum total of all space-time, the cause of this universe must be timeless and spaceless and immaterial, very powerful to bring it about, and personal. There are a few candidates for a timeless, immaterial cause. It's either abstract objects or minds. But there's a problem with abstract objects. They cannot cause anything by their own definition. However, our minds are immaterial and cause things to happen. I'll demonstrate. I'm going to move my thumb up and down 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness. They didn't give me this ring for nothing. See how my mind made a real effect on the world by my own intention? This is why we can think that minds have the power to cause things. The beginning of the universe was caused by a personal mind. That's very powerful. Doesn't that sound like God? More and more thinkers are coming to this conclusion because of a problem called the hard problem of consciousness. People like Alex O'Connor have endorsed panpsychism, but ultimately, this is a mind-first view of reality, that mind is separate from energy and matter. Now, you might have a couple objections to this argument. For the first premise, quantum phenomena are examples of things that are uncaused. Virtual particle blips just come out from seemingly nowhere, so maybe not everything that begins to exist has a cause. There are 2 problems with this. First, we have the philosophical principle. From nothing, nothing comes. This is extremely intuitive. I mean, the lack of anything couldn't bring forth anything. If it could, why doesn't it do it now? Quantum phenomena do have causes. They're grounded in a sea of raging energy and fluctuations. Without that, there could be no virtual particle blips, and so they are caused. An objection to the second premise that the universe started to exist is the idea that the universe is past eternal. There's an infinite past behind us. Let's attack this from 2 angles. Philosophically, we can see that an actual infinite leads to absurdities. And for this, we can give the illustration of Hilbert's hotel. Imagine a hotel with infinite rooms. This hotel can have an infinite number of even rooms, and an infinite number of odd rooms, and an infinite number of prime number rooms. You could fit 3 infinities of people into this room. And just by shuffling them around, you can fit more and more infinities of people. And yet, every single room will always be occupied, but you can still fit an infinity more of people in. Now, this might make sense within transfinite arithmetic, but what's forbidden in transfinite arithmetic is subtraction. This is because in transfinite arithmetic, subtracting 2 infinities can get you any number at all. Remember how infinite people could fit into the odd number rooms? Well, infinity minus infinity can equal infinity still. Or what if everyone, except for the people for the first 3 rooms left? Well, then infinity minus infinity equals 3. And you can do this for any number. This is a strict mathematical contradiction, and so this hotel would be impossible. And we are to say the same thing with these past eternal events. Infinities can't exist in concrete reality. And this is backed up by the scientific evidence. The best cosmological models include a beginning. For this, I'll bring up Alexander Vilenkin, a theoretical physicist who in his 2006 book writes, "With the proof now in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. There is no escape. They have to face the problem of a cosmic beginning." If you need to, pause the video and watch back this argument, go over its premises and objections, and see if you can think of anything. This argument might seem very strong and a knockdown case for God, but remember, not any one argument is supposed to bring all the case for God. Instead, we need to search out another string to braid together to make a stronger rope. This next argument is crazy, and it's also scientific. Fine-tuning means that the constants of the natural laws of the universe are so specific that any difference in them would have resulted in a universe completely, utterly devoid of matter and chemistry. Just how unlikely would it be to get this universe out of chance then? I want you to imagine that you could turn these dials and so change the gravitational constant. Well, if you shift the dial 1 in 10 to the 60th of a fraction, everything might explode apart or collapse into a tiny, tiny ball, and no chemistry could ever form. Even more absurdly, with a cosmological constant, the universe would be in utter disarray if you shifted that dial by 1 in 10 to the 120th power, and the list goes on. But there's another type of fine-tuning. If the initial entropy level of the universe was different by 1 in 10 to the 10 to the 123rd power, no life would exist at all. I want us to consider just how crazy of a number that is. The number of atoms in our universe is 10 to the 80th power. This is utter chicken feed compared to 10 to the 10 to the 123rd power. That number shrinks down to an infinitesimally small amount in comparison. So the argument goes like this. The fine-tuning of the universe is either by chance, necessity, or design. In a recent survey by Phil Hilbert, no, not the Modern Family guy, he's an atheist journalist, 1,675 scientists surveyed agreed that fine-tuning was a phenomenon to be explained. But the fine-tuning couldn't be by chance or necessity. So, fine-tuning must be by design. And design requires a designer. First, the multiverse explains fine-tuning. If you had all the universes possible, well, you would get all the universes with all the different constants, and of course, we would expect to see one of them be our own. But this faces a problem of probability, the Boltzmann-Brain problem. Remember the side fact? Sir Roger Penrose, a friend of Stephen Hawking, calculated that in a universe of utter chaos, it would take 10 to the 60th tries of particle collisions to get our solar system with everything in it. Now, that is a tiny number compared to the initial entropy level of our universe. But let's take this to its logical end. Instead of making a solar system, we could make just a brain, something much simpler. And it could have a hallucination and fake memories of all the life that you've lived. The chance of this happening is vastly more probable than having a fine-tuned universe throughout. So, if the multiverse explains fine-tuning, then you yourself are a freak observer, just a brain brought together by random particle collisions that hallucinates the experience it's having right now, which means no one else would exist. That's freaky. The second premise is that fine-tuning is a necessary part of our universe. But let's go over what necessity means. I mean, there's no logical statement or mathematical statement that implies that a universe must be life-permitting. So it could be logical or mathematical necessity. Naturalistic fine-tuning would require more layers of laws to fine-tune the laws that fine-tune the laws, and so on until you have an infinite regress of laws. We already saw that these infinite amounts of laws would be impossible by Hilbert's Hotel. Okay, my brain is starting to feel like Boltzmann's brain right now. These arguments are so dense and scientific. They're so unrelatable, talking about cosmology and fine-tuning. We can ignore the start of the universe, and we can ignore fine-tuning. But what we can't ignore is how we choose to act when we get out of bed every morning. We have to reckon with our morality. Here's an uncontroversial statement. Moral values and duties are objective. Things that possess value, deserving of ethical embracement or praise, are called moral values. Moral duties are obligatory actions that you ought to follow. And objective means independent of the human mind. Let's make a quick distinction here. Absolute morals and objective morals are not the same thing. Absolute morals would be, regardless of the situation, you can't lie, for example. But objective moral truths are true regardless of human opinions, but whether they are true can differ based on situations. For example, lying is mind independently wrong in situation A to your mother about your report card, but it might be mind independently morally neutral in situation B, like lying to a Gestapo officer who's at your door. With this in place, we can make an argument. First, if objective moral values and duties exist, then God exists, because God explains why they would exist very easily. A moral law can have a moral lawgiver. Objective moral values and duties exist. Let's test it with a question. If the Nazis won World War II and brainwashed everyone into believing in their ideology, would it be unjust what happened to the poor people at Auschwitz? I think everyone would say yes, but this would assume that morals are independent of human opinions. By the conjunction of 1 and 2, God exists. But you might have some objections to this idea. For example, a lot of people say that you don't need to be religious to be a moral person. I think this is the point. I'm not actually saying that at all. I have atheist friends who could probably put me to shame with how moral they are. It's not without believing in God you can't be good. It's without God, there will be no such thing as good at all. But what if morality is from evolution and it's not objective at all? Well, this is committing the classic genetic fallacy. The origin of belief alone cannot actually show a belief is true or false. Senses are also evolved, but we take those as reliable. Like, you're watching this screen, I'm seeing a camera, and I'm hearing my own voice. If I don't think those are objective features about reality, then I don't know how I'm supposed to interpret my surroundings. And God explains very easily how we could come to evolve to know moral truths. I mean, we were intentional, and we have a design. And finally, to the conclusion, someone might say, well, the God of the Bible is immoral, so he couldn't be the foundation of morality if we know better. And guys, let me be clear here. I want to address this very badly. I think this is an essential stopping point for people to consider the Christian religion. And I believe in the God of the Old Testament. But I want to point out that this argument is not for the God of the Old Testament. This argument is for God. So this objection does not address the argument. Now, what would truly be immoral is if you didn't hit the subscribe button and the like button as well. I want to make another video addressing this objection, and you can only see it if you're subscribed. Please subscribe. So I've presented 3 arguments. Now we can go back to the question at the start of the video. Can reason lead to God? God is the best explanation of the beginning of the universe, the fine-tuning of the universe for life, and the existence of objective moral values and duties. These 3 arguments, like string, weave together to make an extremely strong rope that bridges reason and God. But I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Reason can only lead you so far. If I know that my parents love me, I can come up with all the reasons I want, but I need to feel their love in order to really, truly know it. And I believe that this is what God wants to do with you and me. We can prepare our minds to accept that it's rational to believe in God. But that's not where it stops. God wants to show us who he really is. This is a far bigger and more important question, and I'll answer it in the next video. Thanks for watching.